It is 1:30. According to T-Mobile, I guess it's 1:32. My vice chair has advised me. Obviously, we don't have a quorum, so we will just simply start as a subcommittee. We have a few items to announce at the beginning here. We have, let's see, two items have been pulled, or one set of items have been pulled, two items rather. At the author's request, we have item 10, AB 2119 by Assemblymember Chu has been pulled, and item 14, AB 2300 by Assemblymember Wood. So we will not be hearing those today. If you are here for those two bills, you are more than welcome to stay, but those bills will not be coming before us. We also have 10 items on the proposed consent calendar. Those are item 4, AB 1700, item 5, AB 1779, item 8, AB 1900, item 9, AB 1911, item 22, AB 2780, item 25, AB 2843, item 26, AB 2846, item 27, AB 2872, item 29, AB 1963, and item 30, AB 2882. And if someone were to yell bingo, I would understand.
Read number 29 again.
29? AB, I'm sorry, we have it, I have it wrong. It's AB 2831. I'm sorry, AB 2881. AB 2881, the Assembly Committee on Judiciary, AB 2881. So at this point, we will start as a subcommittee. We have one author here. We'll start with item number 2, AB 1383 by Assemblymember Jones. If you would like to come on up and do your presentation at this time. I also have to indicate I am the only person to be heard on a bill in the Assembly. I was hoping to delay it so that most of these bills could be heard, but I'm told that I'm going to have to go over there perhaps even before you finish. I apologize, and to all else that this just sometimes happens. So thank you very much, and welcome to the committee.
Thank you. I'll try to be brief in deference to that, and also the long list of bills that you have today in Judiciary. I don't envy your service this afternoon. Madam Chair and members, AB 1383, today the conversation accumulates about a year and a half worth of conversation between my office, the committee, and the committee members, and hoping that we have gotten the language to the point where we can get unanimous consent on this item. AB 1383 expands the veterans hiring preference policies currently applicable to Vietnam-era war veterans to include all military veterans. The existing hiring preference for Vietnam War veterans has been useful and helpful without undue complications. Current law, limiting the allowable hiring preference to Vietnam War veterans is problematic because the number of Vietnam War veterans who are looking to utilize this preference is steadily declining due to the fact that many of these veterans are no longer searching for employment. Retirement is a bigger concern for these veterans. A whole new generation of veterans is returning from the Middle East and other military assignments throughout the world, looking to re-enter civilian life by finding new jobs and careers, from whom this expanded preference would provide a welcome advantage. Similar preference laws have recently been enacted in 29 states, and this year similar measures are pending in 5 other states. It is important to note that the committee analysis asserts that, in quote, this bill provides an appropriate balance for other applicants or employees that may be affected when a veteran is hired over the applicant or employee. This would require the private employer who opts to provide veteran preferences in hiring decisions to establish and maintain a written veterans preference employment policy. Please vote aye today as we update this law to cover a new and ever-expanding generation of military veterans. With me today, Madam Chair and members, is Michael Kalt, State Legislative Director for the California Council for the Society of Human Resource Management.
And now also want to advise everyone that the policy of this committee is 2 witnesses on each side. So 2 witnesses in support, 2 minutes each. And then others in support, just simply to give their name, affiliation, and position will be heard thereafter. So I note there's just 1 of you, but for other bills, again, 2 witnesses in support, then all other witnesses in support will give their name and affiliation, and then 2 witnesses in opposition, 2 minutes each as well. So with that, good afternoon.
Thank you and good afternoon. Chair Jackson and members, thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today on the very important issue of helping our veterans serve again, this time with private sector employment as their military careers end. I'm particularly honored to be able to speak on behalf of a bill that has wide bipartisan support, and as Assemblyman Jones noted, a bill that's already passed in 30 states. My name is Michael Kalt, and I'm currently a partner at Wilson Turner Cosmo in San Diego, and I'm pleased to speak before you today on behalf of the California Society for Human Resource Management, where I serve in a volunteer capacity as the Government Affairs Director. SHRM is the world's largest human resource organization with over 285,000 members in 165 countries, more than 23,000 of whom reside in California and are members of CalSHRM. Both CalSHRM and SHRM have worked closely with the Obama administration and the Department of Defense in enhancing employment opportunities for our returning veterans across the country. Last year, we began working with Assemblyman Jones in developing what he ultimately introduced as AB 1383, which is designed to provide a voluntary hiring preference for those private sector employers who are committed to hiring veterans. We believe this bill is a very small way of saying thank you to the veterans who have honorably served our country. And at the outset, we'd like to thank Assemblyman Jones and the committee, particularly the chair, Senator Jackson, who has worked with us through amendments that have made this current version an even better bill than when it started. President Obama has often remarked that if you want a job done right, hire a veteran. Accordingly, many employers, public and private, have begun helping veterans transition into the non-military workforce and to bring their unique talents into the workplace. However, many of our CalSHRM members haven't expressed an interest in actively recruiting and hiring veterans, but have also expressed a concern that California's presently outdated preference may subject them to civil lawsuits simply for attempting to do the right thing. As Assemblyman Jones noted, California law currently provides for a veterans hiring preference in Government Code Section 12940, subsection A, subsection 4, but unfortunately that current preference is overly narrow and outdated in that it only applies to Vietnam-era veterans and only immunizes employers from gender discrimination claims. As a result, this preference does not apply to any veteran that has served our country since the Vietnam War, including the hundreds of thousands of men and women that have served in Iraq and Afghanistan. And because it only applies to gender discrimination claims, it potentially leaves employers open to suit under the Fair Employment Housing Act under many other bases. And this stymies the effort of private sector employers in addressing the above-average unemployment rate for returning veterans. Indeed, the unemployment rate for returning female veterans is even higher than the already above-average employment rate for male veterans. Known as the Voluntary Veterans Preference Policy Act, AB 1383 would establish a voluntary preference for employers to grant a veteran in hiring. This voluntary preference would expand the current veterans preference in California and include all U.S. veterans, regardless of when or where they serve. It would also clarify that providing such a preference in and of itself would not be considered discriminatory under the Fair Employment and Housing Act. This clarification will provide additional comfort that employers will not be opening themselves up to civil liability simply for exercising a hiring preference. As mentioned, we commend Senator Jackson for her leadership and willingness to work with us to improve this bill. While Assemblyman Jones, SHRM, and CalSHRM intend to assist veterans to address one public policy goal, we share the concern that this bill not be used as a pretext to intentionally unlawfully discriminate against other applicants.
minutes, so if you'd wrap it up, because I
Yes.
know there are no other witnesses, but
Sure.
very quickly.
Yes, a couple changes we've made since the bill was originally introduced. We've included clarifying language to make clear it cannot be used as a pretext to discriminate as one group against another group. And we've also included language that would require the bill be in the preference policy be in writing and applied uniformly, and we believe these measures will ensure it's used consistently and not in a manner to cherry pick. So we would ask for an aye vote today.
Thank you very much. Are there any other witnesses in support of the measure? Any witnesses in opposition to the measure? All right, well, first of all, I appreciate the work that you're trying to do here. As many of you may know, I have authored bills myself over the last 3 years to give new school employees and state employees who are disabled veterans transitional sick leave so that once they're hired, they have additional needs as they reorient back into the workforce to give them those opportunities. You know, in this committee, we spend lots of time studying and debating bills related to our constitutional guarantees of free speech, freedom of religion, freedom of association, due process, and so forth. And we are committed in this committee, I think unequivocally, to ensuring equality for everyone. And with that, I want to say that I personally have made this a goal of mine in all the work I've done, and in particular for women. I'm the chair of the Legislative Women's Caucus, which I have been for the last 2 years. Back in earlier parts of my career, I fought for greater opportunities for women in the workforce. And the problem that I see with this bill, and I appreciate that efforts have been made to avoid gender discrimination, pretext for discrimination against anyone else, I am still concerned, and I still have very serious concerns about creating priorities for veterans in the actual obtaining of employment. Veterans' preferences have been a source of concern for generations, certainly for decades, I should say, maybe not generations, but for decades, because what we have seen happen is we have seen that be used as a way or as a result where we see men being hired for positions against equally qualified or perhaps more qualified women. Preference points, veterans' preference points, have in fact given an advantage. Now, what we tried to do here, but I'm not satisfied that we've accomplished that, is the reality is that in today's world, we still have, 85 or 95 or 90% of all veterans are still men. And so this gives men a preference, a priority in the workforce. And as we fight for equal pay, as we fight for equal opportunity in the workforce, I believe that as much as we want to do what we can for veterans, given the reality that we have 90% of these veterans are going to be men applying for these jobs. If we had a closer 50-50, women would have that greater opportunity too. But because I see the problems that we've had in the past with these preference points, locking out qualified women from this position, I cannot support this bill today, and I'm disappointed that that we have that reality, but it is a reality, and I do think that it does have as a final result it can and will discriminate against women veterans just because this job is, or this legislation would provide an opportunity for a group that's 85% male. So I wish my colleagues were here to have that discussion. I guess I'm being told I have to leave. You know, right now, actually, 9% of the veteran population is female, and they expect that by 2035, which is 19 years away, the population will only be 15%. So I do think that at the end of the day, this does have a discriminatory aspect to it, and as someone who has fought long and hard against discrimination on that basis, I can't support the bill. So I thank you for what you're doing. I certainly am committed to helping our veterans, but I think the discriminatory aspect of this is just insurmountable for me.
If I may respond, Senator, briefly, just a couple of points. One from Mr. Kalt's comments stating that, and I appreciate your comments, and I know that the language is something we've been trying to work on over the past year to get to the point where it could be supported by the chair. I'm disappointed that we weren't able to accomplish that today. I thought we were moving in that direction over the past couple of weeks of conversation. But to Michael Kalt's comments was, the unemployment rate for female veterans is actually higher than it is for male veterans coming out of military service. So while you and I can't control the realities of who's in the service and what the ratios and percentages are, we can give an advantage, although I would argue small advantage, to those women that are veterans and coming out of the military to take advantage of this legislation. I would also like to quote from the analysis, the committee's analysis on page 4, third underscore this bill, the third this bill, provides that nothing in Voluntary Veterans Preference Employment Policy Act shall be construed to authorize the establishment or use of a veterans preference employment policy for the purpose of discriminating against an employment applicant on the basis of any protected classification under the FEHA, which I think was language that was put in here based on the leadership that we received from you and the comments that we received from your committee. And so while I understand and even agree with your comments, that's certainly not my intent is to create that situation. And I believe that under your leadership, the bill has been amended and changed to address those concerns.
I have no doubt that that was not your intent, and that's why we've been continuing to work. I think at the end of the day, I just don't see that we are able to avoid that potential, that it's just one of the realities that we've seen for decades with the establishment of these veterans preference points. And I appreciate your work on this. Again, if I felt that we could, I just don't see that we can put in all the language we want. The barriers, the discriminatory barriers that we have faced for generations, I think are not helped by having this kind of a preference established. So with that, I am not going to be able to support the bill. This is file item number 2, Senator. I've got to leave because I'm the only person up in the Assembly Committee. But I've indicated, and I appreciate the work that's been done. I appreciate the goal. I just feel that this, that the challenges are so great that this will essentially take us back a step in a battle that has been going on for a long time that we're barely, I'm hoping we're winning, but this I don't think will move us in that direction. So with that, I will pass the gavel over to the Vice Chair and apologize for having to leave. No quorum. No.
We have no quorum, but we are taking questions if you have a question. And then I would commend the chairman. It's not too often when someone says they're going to vote against a bill that supports veterans. That's pretty remarkable. And but when the time is right, I will make a motion to move the bill. Do you have any closing comments? Because I believe we've asked for witnesses in support and in opposition, so I think we're concluded.
Thank you, Vice Chairman. Basically, just a brief close. To further, I would like to quote the committee's analysis very well closes for me, so I'm just going to read it from the analysis. Further, this bill provides an appropriate balance for other applicants or employees that may be affected when a veteran is hired over the applicant or employee, end quote. Veterans come in all shapes and sizes, as we've discussed in this committee now twice. The hiring preference option afforded to private employers with this bill is designed to offer a small token of our gratitude for the veterans' sacrifice and service to our country, whether they be male or female, and I ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Assemblyman Jones. Can't vote until we have a quorum, so we'll hold this open.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Galt, for coming today. So, okay. And, but he's got one on consent, so we're all the way up to number 19.
1386 on consent.
1386 is on consent.
That's my is it or is it not?
It is, that's what,
Well, no, that could be my mistake.
yeah, that's on consent.
No, it's my mistake.
Okay, then you put it on a list that's on consent.
Yes,
Never mind.
I tried. Sorry, Senator.
Good. Assemblyman Lowe, you're up. Number 3, Assembly Bill 1386, and I'll move my mic a little there. We thought you were on consent, so I apologize for.
Well, thank you very much. Well, let me to be brief then. Start off by thanking the chair and the committee staff for working with our respective offices well, we don't have any differences and accept the recommendations noted in the analysis, and want to make mention that there is no current opposition now subsequent to the amendments that have been taken, and respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Great. Do you have any witnesses in support?
Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today. My name is Bruce Lott, and I'm the head of state government relations from Milan. Milan supports Assembly Bill 1386 and urges the support of this committee. We also support the amendments that are before you today. Milan is a leading manufacturer of generic and specialty medications that currently provides medicines in more than 165 countries and territories worldwide. A Milan subsidiary markets and distributes one of several epinephrine auto-injectors available today, and we're committed to expanding access. Food allergies, which can lead to life-threatening allergic reactions or anaphylaxis, are a large and growing problem, public health problem. Today, an estimated 1 out of 13 children and 1 out of 20 adults currently are susceptible to food allergies. 29 states have passed laws have already passed laws similar to AB 1386. Oregon, Florida, and Rhode Island were the first ones in 2013 and 2014. Last year, 16 more states, and so far this year, 10 states have passed similar legislation. AB 1386 will build upon the successful school access laws and the lay rescuer laws. We urge your support, and I'd be happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Lott. Anyone else in support?
Christy Woods with the American Red Cross in support.
Fred Main on behalf of the California Society of Allergy, Asthma, and Immunology in support, and we thank the author's office for working very closely with us. Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Anyone else in support? Anyone in opposition? Then I have one question, Ms. Zimmerman Lowe. The status of the liability protection for the authorized health care providers that are dispensing EpiPens, has that been resolved in these amendments?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you. Then I have no quorum, so I'll put this on hold. Thank you for coming, and appreciate your testimony. You've got one more bill, so.
This is Assembly Bill 2611.
Number 19, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Senator, members. First, we also would like to present this committee with the author amendments that would be distributed that will dramatically narrow this bill to only address the disclosure of a death of a peace officer killed in the line of duty. I want to make mention that this is double referred to Public Safety Committee, and the committee's deadline to submit amendments was the day after we were told that this, the chair would not be in support of the measure, so just wanted to distribute this accordingly. The language that was just passed out to you and your staff will suggest and demonstrate that this prohibits the disclosure of a video or audio recording of a death of a peace officer killed in the line of duty without the consent of a peace officer's immediate family, and respectfully ask for your support.
Any witnesses in support?
Mr. Chairman, members, Randy Perry with Aaron Reed and Associates on behalf of the California Association of Highway Patrol and PORAC. PORAC sponsors of the bill. Again, we're amending the bill back in next committee to just have the bill apply to videos depicting the death of an officer in the line of duty. They won't be subject to CPRA. They still will be available under the pitches system, if it goes to court and there's the defense bar, or anyone would like to see this video or have it as part of evidence, would still be subject to the current rules and laws under evidence. However, it just won't be subject to any person off the street being able to go get a CPRA and put it up on the internet.
Thank you. Anyone else in support? Anyone in opposition?
With the California Newspaper Publishers Association. We're opposed to the amendment. The amendment ignores what might be an overwhelming public interest in whatever that footage depicts. Now, if it's just the grisly murder of a police officer, that may not be enough to constitute a good public interest, but there may be other things in that footage that give context to the death of that officer, and this would completely take that off the table. We don't think it's good policy, and for those reasons, we oppose the amendment and oppose the bill. Urge a no vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. Anyone else in opposition? Senator Wieckowski, we are on number 19, Assembly Bill 2611. Do you have any questions? Yes. Thank you.
I did think the opposition raises some critical points about if you want to blur the officer by asking the family for permission at the horrible time of their life. It doesn't, I don't know if we're, the public policy that you're trying to direct here is that the anonymity, right? You can blur the officer's face. You can do changes so that we don't call it redaction because that's what words. It's whatever you do with video. So that's the first part of the question is why can't that be with the least intrusive steps that you take? And then the other side is the public. I think the opposition raises a point about, when you're a member of the public and your son is gruesomely killed on videotape, why do you want to have that aired, and that you would have that redacted, and redact's the wrong word, or blurred, the face is blurred, so that you're treating this equal as far as, because this is a disclosure bill.
Senator Randy Perry again with PORAC. When we introduced the bill, we did have a lot of that in there. The bill was originally introduced to protect victims, privacy, witnesses, and all persons who have been subject to great bodily injury or death. And depicting those, none of those were subject. We've amended the bill back and back and back because of our opposition keeps saying, no, we want access to all those videos. We want to be able to put them in the newspaper. We want to be able to put them up on the internet and TV. So we have tried to protect the general public equally to law enforcement on this. And we've had to amend the bill out because of the opposition. And then we've just amended the bill. I don't know if you were walking in when we mentioned we are amending the bill. It's too late for this committee, but we passed out amendments where the amendment will simply say that a peace officer killed in the line of duty shall not be subject to CPRA. You can still get it if somebody else's, their son was killed along with that killing of the officer. They still have subject to getting the video in the pitches system and through the defense bar, would still have total access to it. This simply says that the average citizen just can't come in, CPRA it, and put it up on the internet. That's all it says. We've amended the bill back only to that.
All right, thank you. Any closing comments?
Again, just wanted to reiterate the point that we will continue to work, as this is double referred to, in public safety, to address additional concerns, and respectfully ask for your support.
Thank you, Assemblyman Lowe. We will put that on hold until we have a quorum. Thank you for your testimony, your bill. That takes us then back to the beginning to, yes, Assemblyman Santiago. Assembly Bill 874, number 1.